For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble, and it's a special edition on this April 27th. You don't normally hear me calling out the date on this show because a lot of times, I'm going to be honest with you, we pre-tape these a hell of a long time in advance. But the big story in the news is the White House Correspondents Dinner alleged shooting, and yours truly was there. So let me also be very clear on this whole thing here. As a Canadian, the gun control, the political violence, all that stuff is quite new to me. Now, I've lived in Los Angeles for several years, thanks to my media company and subsequent syndicated radio shows that I hosted for many years. 15 years, actually, one of the shows. On Friday, my broadcast team, producers, with whom I've worked for, over 20 years, surprised me with a celebration because it was the 20th anniversary of my syndicated radio show, Top of the Charts. Now, the show went off the air 5 years ago, but because it was such a big success, it turned our company into all these other projects that we still currently have. For instance, this podcast, we have, e-commerce stores, we have, publishing firm. So, that one show kind of, spun off into really big things. So we still celebrate the anniversary of the show, even though it went off the air 5 years ago. So it being the 20th anniversary, there was this whole big weekend of like, okay, we're going to do a big dinner Friday night. We're going to listen to a bunch of clips. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. As a journalist for over 20 some years, I've never had any interest in going to the White House Correspondents Dinner because I honestly don't cover the White House. I'm an entertainment reporter. I'm an entertainment host. But because President Trump was going to be attending this year, that kind of cranked up the newsworthiness a little bit. Now, I've interviewed Trump. He was on the radio with me. Actually, I think most of his kids were as well when we were covering The Celebrity Apprentice. I'm sitting in our radio studio right now, and there's press badges. And actually, is there a picture of... I'm not with Trump in the picture, but there's a picture of Trump on the wall. There's the press badges from Celebrity Apprentice. So to go this year, because Trump has never gone as a sitting president, that was newsworthy unto itself. Then to hear that he was planning on just roasting and laying into the media, that kind of brings up the newsworthiness a little bit more. Yes, he does it every day on Twitter or what is it? Truth Social. But again, now he's in the journalists' territory. He's on their turf at their event. And so part of me actually just wanted to go and see, like, are the journalists going to allow this? Is he going to get booed? Right? Like, this would be a great opportunity that you've got him cornered at your event. And so that's where the criticism with the media has come in, right? Now you've got the journalist going and saying, he doesn't respect you already. And now you're giving him the platform. You're giving him the floor at your own event. We've got our Canadian team. Everybody's, in the same room face to face. Well, nobody wanted to go to this thing because none of our team was American. And so then I said to my husband, who's Brazilian, see, this is the thing. None of us in this media company is American. So to get my husband, who's from Brazil and, lives, with me, and he's I've talked about him on the show many times. He's a bodybuilder. He's a fitness model, whatever. I said, honey, free food and booze. Done, right? Sold. So we have our 20th anniversary kind of celebration Friday night. We have a nice thing at a hotel. Actually, it was kind of the similar thing, but much smaller scale. So then first thing Saturday morning, we fly from LA to DC. You pack light for something like this because this is what I call a hit it and quit it. We were going there for less than 24 hours. We were coming back early Sunday morning. Our flight was always at, I think it was 5 or 6 in the morning anyway. And to be back in LA here before noon. So that was always our plan. So yeah, when I say gone for not even 24 hours, it was get to LAX first thing Saturday morning. We fly out there, of course, the time zone changes, whatever. We really didn't have anything to do in the afternoon anyway, right? I mean, we're just sitting at the hotel. So we get there at about, what time is a check-in at a hotel? Usually like 3 o'clock, right? Or 4 o'clock or something. So that was roughly around the time that we got there. And again, you've got nothing to do. We're not going sightseeing. You're not going out for dinner because you're going to a dinner. So we're just hanging out at the hotel. And then, of course, like an airport, you had to get there quite a time in advance because there's so many people and there's security, obviously. And the rain, it was shitty weather too. So we get there, and I know some people, but I'm not part of that like White House. Like I'm not an American journalist per se, but I do know some of them from my years in being in media. So you have the hellos, whatever. My husband, again, doesn't give two shits about any of this stuff. He's like, where's the booze and where's the food? When do they bring the food? So this is a massive room that you're in. And again, the thing with the ballroom is you are at least, was it 2 floors underground? Okay, wait. So you go in, you're 2 floors underground, I believe it was. You're at least 1 anyway. So you're like tunneling into the, Earth's core. And even, when you go into a parking garage, even, your phone doesn't work half the time, right? Or you go somewhere. So this is like, and especially there's just so many people in the room, and the room they say is like the size of a football field. It's probably one of the biggest indoor rooms, I've ever been in, save for, let's say, a stadium, right? I mean, obviously that's going to be bigger, or an arena, but it's a very large room. And we had shitty seats because, again, we're nobodies in this, but you get the invite because you know somebody or whatever. So we're not even close to where the action is. Yes, there's projection screens that you can kind of watch it, and we're sitting with people that like we don't know, but you make the most of it because a lot of times people don't want to be there anyway, but you go because this is a news event, right? And these are your people. I always kind of get that whole thing about like, oh, you're Canadian, your politics, whatever. That always happens. Always, always, always. So I'm sitting there going, yeah, we don't really get it. Canadians aren't obsessed with politics. It's certainly not this polarizing, but it's really interesting to watch this play out. So fast forward to when the action starts, and the big question that everybody had Saturday night, at least from the stories that we later saw in the news, because we got back to our hotel at like, was it before midnight, I guess. And of course we put on CNN or whatever. And that's when the reporters are now in the studio talking about what they experienced. And everybody says the same thing. Oh, I thought it was plates dropping, or, a server dropped a tray or whatever. And quite honestly, when you're sitting there, you're in a room literally of thousands of people. There was also music playing as well. So think about just the noise, the sheer noise of 2,000 people in a room. You've got music playing above this, above, in the speakers above the whatever. And then you've got clinking of glasses, plates, everything. You wouldn't hear anything. And so there are people who are just like me saying, I didn't hear anything. I didn't even notice anything. I didn't know what was going on. At the same time, if you're not really paying attention. Now, my back was towards the stage anyway, so I didn't see. But because I was facing where people were starting to run to, like, because there was exits all over, that's where I was kind of like, oh, what's going on? So I thought maybe there, somebody was choking. There was a medical thing because... First, remember, I'm Canadian. My mindset isn't, oh shit, there's a shooting, because I'm just not trained for that. That's just not in my DNA. We don't feel that way. Despite how much time I spend in the United States, I still don't go into a building and going, now where are the exits in case there's a shootout or in case there's, whatever. I just don't feel that way. And I don't know that I will now. So it's interesting because then Sunday rolls around and you've got the news shows and everybody's kind of talking about, you've got the two sides. You've got the media who's saying, Trump really had a softened tone when he had that press conference at the White House after. And then you've got the skeptics, and I don't want to use the term conspiracy theorists, but they're skeptics who are going and saying, some things aren't just adding up here. There's this, there's that, there's that, there's that. And at the end of the day, the critics are basically saying, like, this dude the shooter, gunman, alleged, didn't even get close to the ballroom. Well, for the people who were there, the fact that he was in the building was close enough. And so that's, we didn't know what was happening at the time. All of a sudden you just see people running and then like hiding under a table. And again, I don't know that that's what you're supposed to do in a shooting, because I know a lot of Canadians. I do not know one Canadian that owns a gun. I do not. The only fear that I really had at any time was you don't know what's going on. You know there's something happening, but you don't know what. And so you don't really have a connection to the outside world, but you also there was a bit of comfort. And I will say this, there's a bit of comfort knowing that you are in probably the most secure room in the country at that moment. And so that's where, again, me not being a political reporter, not being an American, whatever, I'm sitting there going, nothing's going to happen to us in here, right? Like, we're in a secure room. We're fine. So, and again, maybe that's just my naivete, my innocence, my Canadianism. I don't know. So it did take us a little while to get out. Now we were going to Uber back, but I mean we were close enough that we could have just walked to the hotel, which we did. And so we get there, like I said, it was before midnight. Now that I'm thinking about it, because we were And so we didn't really have a full dinner. We had what did we have? The salad was good because my husband said this is a terrible salad. And so he said to me, should we order food? Do you want to just go to bed? Do you want to do? Well, I jump into reporting mode because that's what I do. Again, a journalist of 20 years. So I jump into reporting mode. You're talking with our broadcast partners that air our content that we do produce still as a company. I kind of felt shitty because I don't have a big dramatic story to tell. I really don't. I wasn't Wolf Blitzer. I didn't see the gunman and get tackled by a cop to protect me. None of that happened. So I was there. I didn't really know. I saw that, all of a sudden I look back and the stage is empty. Okay. So I didn't see any of that chaos. I didn't see any of that happen. But I wanted to chime in as a Canadian going, American politics is pretty fucked up. It really is. And Americans, that I'm not breaking any news here. So I fell asleep almost right away because I was just exhausted from all that. And then we checked into the hotel first thing in the morning and we bolted right back to LA. So that's my experience. I'm alive. I'm not AI right now. This is me. I'm talking to you on this April 27th. And better yet, by the way, this is a twofer Monday. You're getting 2 episodes of The Scribble, and the next one is probably online right now. So my name is Jeremy Bradley. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great week, everybody.